Time.
Showtime, showtime, showtime.
We're live, Andy.
We're live, Bambos. Today we are live with Kelley Mccabe in Miami, or not Miami,
Florida.
in Florida. And we are going to discuss with her what I would like to call the quintessential entrepreneur. And we're going to do that today on
A Wonderful
Chaos. Kelley. So it often takes me a few, weeks to warm people up to coming on the show, because I'll ask people, "Hey, you want to be on?" And they'll say, "What the hell am I going to talk about?" Because they don't really see in themselves per se what I've always experienced in them. And Kelley is someone who I don't know how to explain her, but it's like if you were like to say, throw a tornado in a bedroom and say what happens, that's sort of like the experience you can imagine.
With her being the tornado?
With her being the tornado. And think about that tornado of creation. Like not a tornado of destruction, but a tornado of whatever we need to do to succeed. I already know, I just need you to implement it. So if she has a band of brothers around her that just implement whatever she needs to get done, then you know it's going to get done and succeed. And I thought it was fascinating because I met her quite a few years ago with Case. And we sort of had this beautiful moment when basically it was a few weeks, I believe, even before Case died. And we were all at a summit together. And then Case and her had a little bit of a spat. Case, my mentor.
Spat?
Well, she was doing a presentation.
Yeah.
And then Case got up in the middle of the presentation and left. And Kelley, and she was like insulted, like, hold on.
Hey, where are you going?
Right, and she flew there. She was trying to she just wanted to be heard and on and on. And then like little did she know, I think at that point, the Case had cancer and he was just finding a hard time connecting to certain things and he was taking care of himself. So after we got very close, because I have often found when people go through a misunderstanding with one another, how you deal with that misunderstanding usually defines how your friendship unfolds.
Yeah.
So I like misunderstandings because if through the misunderstanding we have a different way of experiencing and being together, then we build trust, and that basically is how my relationship formed with Kelley. And then after Case died, Kelley was one of the people who was really there for me in a way that I can say most people weren't. Like it was as if she only knew Case for a very short time, but she experienced his loss on such a deep level that she helped me feel into my own pain. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for her because I've often found in my life when I feel deep pain, I often sort of have a hard time letting it really be there. And I often need another person to be fully in their pain so that I can allow my own pain. So Kelley gave me that gift. And then she said, it was only a few weeks later that she says, I'm starting my own business, a pretty big business, a matter of fact, the largest mindfulness community and businesses in the world. She said, I'm going to do this. And she did it.
That was her concept?
It was her concept. She started out in Wall Street. She made her money in Wall Street. Then she moved to Florida. And then she said, you know what? I've never been particularly happy in my life and I don't know how to find peace. She said, mindfulness is great. And then she says, there's no mindfulness platforms in the world. And then she just created a mindfulness platform, live courses. Imagine you go anytime during the day and there's a live person offering a mindfulness course. How radical is that?
Wow.
And she created that really from scratch in a way that blew my mind, right? Like not like hundreds of people, hundreds of men. She really ground up, hands dirty. Let me get my cousin in. Let me get my uncle in. Let me get my second, third brother removed. Like everyone was there and she made it happen. And I was in awe of it. And what dawned on me was when I'm with that energy of creation, it always like throws me back on myself. Like that's the tenacity that creates. So I know whatever Kelley gets involved with, it'll be successful. I also know that she's going to make trouble because someone with that clear intention, desire, like people don't like to be told what to do. They don't like to be pushed. They don't like to be forced anywhere. And in some ways, she's trying to navigate her whole life around how are you going to do the thing? I know what we need to do in order for us to succeed. How do I get you on board? And that was why she hired me. And I didn't succeed at it, but that's okay. I was there anyways trying.
Nice.
So that's really Kelley in a nutshell. And I love this woman. So I'm bringing on someone that I honestly love. When I go to Florida, I stay at their home. You know, like I consider myself kind of part of the family. Her husband's name is Cliff. And in a way, when we're together, it's just like three friends. And it's been that way. And I get to see her graduate out of this last job. And this is where I'm going to love discussing with her. She basically said, I know nothing about electric installations, but she created an entire business in like 2 months, 3 months. We'll discuss how that evolved, but that's the tenacity that I'm like, oh shit, that's the tornado. Wherever that tornado goes, it creates.
Wow.
And potentially destroys, but we'll discuss how she balances those two. Very excited.
Should we bring her on?
Yeah, let's bring her on.
Da, 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 da.
Da, 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 da.
Ba, ba, ba.
There she is, the tornado.
I'm not
Has
feeling
he
like
called
a
you that before?
tornado. No. No, he hasn't.
What have I called you before that you remember?
A dumb blonde.
I could be guilty of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. That could have come out of my mouth at some point. How does it feel to hear me describe you in those words?
Oh, my heart is so open and overjoyed, and I love you to pieces.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can you identify yourself in those words, or do you feel like that just is a nice way of talking to someone? Can you hear yourself through my words or not?
Honestly, yes. Unfortunately, yes.
No.
I do.
So is this true?
Hustle,
Yeah.
in the sense of moving, yes. In the sense of trying to put one over on someone, no.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, interesting. I didn't look at it the second sense.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I didn't even have that in my head until you mentioned
for
it.
me, it's just like get things done.
Yeah, just get things done.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the moment in your life when you said, I'm different? Not the different, like everyone says I'm different. But what was the moment when you said, like I'm doing things that are a little bit more assertive than others around me?
My sort of aha moment, and I actually didn't believe it. I was still on Wall Street, and I had by that time I was managing at least 100 people. And I had a guy come in, and we were having our little senior meeting, and I was saying, do this, and we need to do that, and we need to do the other thing, and what about this thing, and what about that strategy, and how are we going to handle that client? And I guess I said somebody wasn't pulling their weight or doing something or not getting it together, and I have this tendency to say, like, how hard can that be? Like kind of make people feel badly that like, what's okay, what the fuck? Why can't you get your shit together? And this guy looks at me, his name is Richard, and he looked at me and he goes, Kelley, almost no one is like you. Like, you think everyone's like you?
Yeah.
Almost no one is like you. And I was like, what do you mean? I was so taken aback. I thought I was actually like just an average, achiever. And I expected everyone to do at least what I did and then some.
Yeah. Like not go home for days on end, not. Yes.
So I literally had to sit there. It was one of the few times in my life I was speechless.
And what did you get out of that? So what surprised you and what he said to you?
Just, I actually didn't believe him. And but I was like, wow, but I respected him tremendously. So I thought he has insight. So he must be saying something he thinks is true. So I just really started paying attention after that. And And that was actually also part of my whole meditation. I had an aha moment when it was like, yeah, you really aren't as dumb, fat, and stupid as you think you are.
Uh-huh. So you didn't consider yourself smart, is that right?
I considered myself average, and I actually had a teacher in my junior year of high school. I just killed it on these, standardized tests that they. No, I got that backwards. I did okay on the standardized test,
Okay.
just maybe slightly better than okay. But in school, I was in all the top track classes. I was straight A's. I was, in the top 10% of the class, etc.
So that was
So
norm.
So I went to no. So that's what I went to the teacher. I thought the test maybe was wrong. And I said, how can I do so well academically and have kind of average, to slightly better than average test scores? And she said, you're an overachiever.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, basically you work really hard to compensate for your dumbness.
Mm. Where did it come from?
The dumbness?
No. The need to overachieve.
Well, my mother.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was constantly trying to earn my mother's approval and didn't happen, but
yeah. But can we
I
agree
tried really hard.
can we agree that she didn't ever approve of herself? So not approving of you was actually not that was a far stretch for her.
Well, in another aha moment, I realized that to the best of her ability, she loved me.
Mm.
And that believe it or not, my expectation of her was really the problem.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Yeah, I think we discussed that over and over on the show, is that in general, once we get to a certain point in our lives, we see that whatever we thought the other one was to blame for was something that we just couldn't give ourselves. So what would it have been that your mom would have had trouble giving you think, or that you had trouble giving yourself, actually?
Wow, what didn't I give myself? Well, I struggled tremendously to love myself. I mean, just to say I love myself, like my stomach sort of went in knots and I was like, oh, wow. But that has been really, really recent that I feel like I can say to myself, I love you. I love myself. And I don't, my stomach's not doing somersaults and going, oh my God, what are you talking about?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yes.
So would you say that your drive was your mother?
Yeah. I mean, my mom, just the short version, in high school, I started off, with B's and C's, and she's like, you can do better, you can do better. And she would reward me if I got certain grades, and I got punished if I didn't, and blah, blah, blah. So first it was grades. Then she said I needed a job. So I got a job. But I still wasn't enough getting great grades and having a job. So I got a second job. And then I got a third job. And I played varsity tennis. And she wanted me to be on the school, yearbook, writing, whatever, author on the yearbook, blah, blah, blah. So everything she threw out there, I jumped on it, did it. And when I accomplished it, she would say, well, that's good, but you really should do. And I'd be like, oh, I got to do, and so.
Yeah. How was it to see that part of yourself in time where you kind of were starting to adopt more qualities like your mom? How did you reconcile that?
Well, my mom was awesome. I mean, my mom had an amazing career. And so I'm okay being like my mom.
Yeah, I think at some point, I think I remembered saying to you, "You're just like your mom," and I thought you were going to open the car door and throw me out.
Yes, we were moving.
On the last preempting this show yesterday, I discussed one of my favorite moments of my life, which was like a movie, was when it was me, your daughter, and your mom all at the same table. Like
Oh,
that for me was like, it was almost, I felt like I took a drug, and then and I was sort of like expanding away from the table, seeing intergenerational experience, like each very similar, and yet judging the other for exactly the similar things that the qualities they had.
yes.
Do you remember what I said to your mom at the table that I just love so much?
I don't know, something about fucking everyone in the retirement community or something. She should fuck as many people as she wanted to.
Please. I was a little bit more subtle than that, please. I said, how's the sex at the retirement home?
Okay, yeah.
But you remember, she loved me after that. And you said, Andy, it's weird. She doesn't like anybody.
But you embraced the thing that was closest to her heart. She didn't love herself either, and she needed a man. She needed a husband in order to feel like she was okay.
Wow.
So that caused a problem for her.
Wow.
How far would that be true for you?
Well, it was extremely true, and I mean, I just didn't feel okay about myself in general, but certainly having other people around me who thought I was okay helped. Yeah. And now I cry thinking about Cliff, dying ahead of me since he's a bit older, but I think I would be okay.
Yeah.
Well, the part where if Cliff would die ahead of you, that really hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot of that with Ronnie,
If she dies ahead of you?
Yeah. Or, she'll say it often to me, how hard it would be if I were to die ahead of her, and she'd have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I often find it interesting because I've often in my mind thought, oh, I knew my dad would die, and I thought, right, that I prepared for it emotionally. And then in some weird way, as soon as it happened, it was a completely different experience. It's one of those weird things. You think you might be able to, mourn it before it happens, but, it's always its own process.
It's funny because I've been crying about my mom like a lot lately. She died 1.5 years ago. And at the time she died, I felt kind of removed from it. And I was like, wow, like I got through this whole grieving thing over my mom really easily. But I think it's just coming a little later.
Yeah. I see it comes in waves, for me, the 30 years it took me to really go back to that pain with doing the book tour where I saw you. Yeah. And it's I noticed that when I said mom was killed by a drunk driver, like the one thing I noticed is I separated from the words because they were just too hard to feel. And then I on the tour, I said it over and over again. I really felt them each time. And I saw how quickly and easy it was to separate from the words again, to make the feeling a concept that I could separate from.
Right.
And yeah, so holding it near and not getting lost in it, right? Because it could be a pit of sorrow, which also doesn't serve. So that's been a journey.
Yeah, I can relate to that, separating from the words.
I mean, your mom was a pain, though. Let's get that clear for all listeners. Like, let's just say a lovable pain, but certainly a pain.
She was brutal. But I ended up having a lot of her qualities. So
yeah,
I used to joke that I, rode my broom to work.
How was it for you? Because in some ways, when I'm with someone like you, it's like there's this balance that I'm always experiencing. This intense creative drive and direction, which I know, and this is my instinct. If the timing for a market is right, then you will be the joy of the world because everyone says, wow. But if the timing isn't right, then all of a sudden it's really easy to say, wow, she's a bit harsh. She's not lovable. She's not doing the things that are. So for me, it's kind of interesting is that, do you see that your qualities are exactly what also are required in starting a business? Do you embrace that, or do you judge that because in some cases people have a hard time with the fact you're so strong?
No, I think I embrace it. I mean, I wish I was one of those lovable, I don't know if there's a commercial here now, you just keep being you, Darren. It's the boss talking to Darren, and Darren's a little out there, and he's like, celebrating Darren.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, and he's so comfortable, and you just want to hug him, and I watched that commercial and I go, wow, I wish I could have been like that, but I wasn't. And part of my not being like that is what gets stuff done.
Yeah, I would say great part of it, actually. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. The title of the show is A Quintessential Entrepreneur. And I don't know, do you see yourself that way? I mean, do you really see like, I could dig my feet into any business and basically get it going? Do you feel that in your bones?
I do now. I just, there's two little girls down the street who want to start a dog walking business. And I know their parents, and I love the little girls. They're cute as a button, and they take care of Eris and Harmonia. And I said to them, well, how big of a dog walking business do you want? And, I talked to the parents because I didn't want to get the kids all revved up about, let's build an empire. And, and the parents were like, yeah, but they got to go to school.
Yeah.
So I talked to the parents, and I literally said to the dad, I could start any business and in 6 months to a year, have it be a business that you can live off of.
Mm. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, a lot of people would say that, and I think to themselves, what are you trying to sell? Like, hold on, what's the gimmick? How much do I have to pay you ahead in order for you to teach me something that I won't be able to use?
Yeah. The thing is, I'm doing it for them for free, and I wouldn't do it in general for anyone else.
Yeah. And what would you say? So like, help break down a little bit of your process. Like, I know you look big picture, and then you also know how to get shit done. So when you deal with your friends down the road with the dog walkers, what do you do? Like, what is your process?
So the first thing I said to the parents was, okay, like, how big of a dog walking business do you want, and where do you want it? Right? Do you want it right here in Indian River Shores, that just this little area where the kids can, they don't drive yet. So the parents would have to drive them. They're like, yeah, just Indian River Shores. I said, okay. And, they're going to school. So like, how big do you want it? So basically the first thing is determining what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. Right. Then the next thing is, it's probably a little easier to use what I did with Cliff as, an example, because that goes all the way to the end. But, so I sat with him one day. Now, Cliff, as you recall, hand wrote everything. He had a little book. He wrote like what materials he needed to order. He wrote how many hours he was on a job. He wrote what materials he used. He got all the information, hand wrote it. On the weekend, he hand wrote out invoices and folded them up, stuck them in an envelope, took them out. I'm like, why are you doing this way? Anyway, but that's when I was still working at Be Mindful, so I really didn't have any time to and he liked it that way.
Yeah.
And then
old school.
Yeah, old school.
Very, very old school. And then I love this man. I love this story. I left Be Mindful, and in Vero Beach, I literally had a job to drive a truck for the post office. I had an offer for that. It was $16 an hour. Publix is the shopping, grocery shopping place. And I asked around, I think they pay around $13, $14 an hour. And I sat down with Cliff and I said, look, I have basically two choices. I can leave you and go back to New York and try to get a job as consultant, which I don't want to do. Or we can grow your electrical business. And he's like, yeah, how about going to New York?
Yeah, I mean, for the context, let's contextualize. Let's just contextualize Cliff, your husband, for a moment, right?
Mhm.
Cliff is somebody who he kind of reminds me of. He's not, but he would be like a surfer. Like life just comes, everything is cool. Don't make any waves. Like we don't need to grow the business. Everything is great. I'm making enough money. Like that's the mentality which you came into.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so for me,
You're the other polarity.
it's the polarity of totally. I mean, this is you got it. So I'm sitting on the outside. I mean, I cracked so many jokes when this whole thing was going down. Like I think I asked Cliff, like, how does it feel to wear the skirt in the family now or something?
Jeez, he would not have liked that.
Because you were so tenacious in every step of the. I remember you saying, "Hey, this is outdated. This is outdated." So take us now. You get out of this one company where you're head of a big venture capital thing. You say, "Hey, listen, I just got to get work." And then you say, "My husband is a one-man show." Now explain to us how you move from this one-man show into what I don't know what we'll call it, into an outsourcing business for electrical for a big part of Florida. Like, how does that happen?
So I love telling these numbers. In 2016, his business made $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, we made $762,000.
Wow.
So we just did our taxes, so that's how I know. So what happened was, it's like, I think the key is to say, okay, what needs to be done, and then pick something and start doing it. And as you get into it, you start to strategize about like, okay, maybe this would be a better thing to do first than that. But initially, if you want to just be an entrepreneur, just, okay, what do I want to do? And where do I want to do it? And okay, now like, what do I have to do? So you could literally tell me any business, I don't have to know anything about it. And I could say, well, here are 5 or 6 things that need to be done. And here are some things you need to learn about, or I would need to learn about if I was like electrical, right? So one of the first things I did, it was when I made this decision, it was October. And I called Indian River State College and I said, do you have the electrical journeyman apprentice program? Yes. And I said, well, I'm 50, whatever I was, 7 or 6. And I'd like to join it, and I don't want to wait till next year. And they said, well, you've already missed the first 3 months of the year. And I said, well, that's okay, I'll catch up.
Yep.
And they were like, okay, So I started the class the end of October, and the exam was like that week for the whole first quarter. And I said, can you give me a couple extra days and I'll take the exam? He's like, sure. So it was like, the first thing is I know nothing about electricity. So where can I go? How do I learn something about electricity? And then I had to literally wrest control of like, Cliff answered the phone, Cliff wrote everything down, Cliff knew what the jobs were, Cliff, everything, right? He did the invoicing, he did the materials, he ordered the materials, he talked to the clients, he did the work. I mean, he did it all. So I started off using a spreadsheet. Well, I quickly saw that was unmanageable. So I found a service, like a service software application that you could be a plumber, anything where you make service calls, or you make calls, scheduling. So I got this system, and I thought, well, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to answer his phone, and I'm going to get the information about the clients and the jobs, and I'm going to get them into this system. And literally each step along the way was a battle with him. I mean, I turned his whole life, I turned him upside down, I shook him, like everything dropped out of his pockets on the floor.
Like at what point was there, like, what were the breaking points? Like, what was the point when he like said no more? Like, how many points did you hit that time?
A couple of times he got to a point, it's like, no, that I have done it this way 50 years, this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm like, okay. And I actually, it's like, okay. And then I would let him go and we'd go 4 6 weeks and then things, shit would start hitting the fan. I say, well, if we did it this way, yeah, then you wouldn't be dropping balls. You wouldn't be missing things. We wouldn't be sending people to the wrong places. We would. But it was, he let me do it. Now there was some resistance, but just the fact that he let me
do it, that's incredible.
It is incredible. And now he has adopted the system and he's got it on an iPad and he knows how to run every part of the system from the iPad. And I mean, this is a man who cannot save a file.
No.
To this day, he still does not know how to save or retrieve a file.
I'd be curious. You turned the company from a 60 to 700, so over a tenfold increase over a 3-year period. Is that right?
Yep.
And in that period, would you say that he and you included are working more or less than you were before, or about the same?
Well, he would say he's working more.
Okay.
I am working for a while. I was working 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, the first year I was just working all the time and the weekends and but I started to write a manual of what had to be done by the office person. And I hired a succession of office people. I've probably had more than a dozen office people. And it was like, if you can't do this and you can't do it this way, then you're out.
Yeah.
And so I just kept firing them, or they left. And
see, but I'd like to key in on that for a moment, okay?
Sure.
Because I find that to be an incredible management tool that every book would speak against.
Yeah.
So you say, I know what I need. And I know that there'll be somebody that can deliver it. Now, most people would stay in suffering for weeks or months on end, and then say, oh my God, we got to probably get rid of them anyways.
Yeah.
Where you will say, hey, these are the specs, execute or don't execute. But if you don't execute, then we'll have to get somebody else. And that's a very unique way of being in the world. I don't experience a lot of people that way.
Well, I do give them a chance. I mean, I'll even get to a point where I go, wow, this probably isn't working out, and I'll still hang on to them, but not for long,
I got it. Yes.
So,
but you do know that quality is something quite unique.
Of hiring and firing someone?
People tend to feel what I've sensed in my own kind of business life is people tend to feel a sense of responsibility and attachment. So even if their business is suffering, or even if by keeping a person it means they won't succeed, emotionally they won't be able to let that person go because they feel like that's not the person they are.
Gotcha. Well, to mitigate that feeling, because I do have a sense of responsibility. If I pull someone out of a great job and they come to work, for me, I feel like, wow, I took them out of this awesome job. So what I do is I almost exclusively hire people who are looking for a job, don't have a job, or are actively looking for a job.
Yep.
So if they didn't have a job when they came in and they don't have a job 6 weeks later, they're not that much worse off.
Yeah. Something else that you like to do that we've had several experiences with is buy real estate.
Yeah.
I've been at their house and basically one night we said, let's get a house. And then the next day, basically we bought a house. Together. Weirdest experience of my life. Right? By the time I was gone, we bought a house. We got in the car. We signed the contract in the car.
Yes.
You're one of the few people I know that sort of like you've calculated every risk in your mind. You know what you want and you just execute. That's another quality that I don't see that often in people.
I see. Well, I mean, after you've done the analysis and it makes economic sense, you do it.
I got it. But the fact that you kind of go and then we're going to sign the contract while we're there in the car, there's a determination that you have that's a tenacity that's not that's not the way I see people normally functioning.
Right. Well, you asked me who's working more and who's working less.
Yes.
So Cliff, he does not make decisions quickly or easily. And, you know, I'll ask him what I think is a pretty simple question that I would be able to just give an answer to. And I have to think about that. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it takes more time. And so that ends up impacting, you know, his schedule. And the other thing is, you know, he's very slow to give control over to other people, where I'm like, here you go, here it is, handle it, don't handle it. Oh, you didn't handle it, I'll take it back. And you're gone. But you know, he won't just hand stuff over and let the chips fall where they may. And there's a good reason for that. I mean, he spent a long time building his credentials in this community, and he doesn't want stuff just falling all over the place. But so yes, I make decisions quickly, and I mean, sometimes they're wrong, but then, you know, most of the time they're right. Or they're mostly right, and I see, okay, here's what I need to do to adjust to get them better.
Yeah.
And when they're wrong, I go, okay, I made a mistake, and I fixed that.
Yeah. No, I've seen that's the way you operate. It's kind of like you factored in all the risk and downside risk, so it's easy to say we're going to do it, and the worst thing that could happen is that.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I think I've been through 3 houses with you in our time together. At least maybe 4. I've been through 4 houses with you. I even found 5. I've been through 5 houses with them.
You were at Turnberry?
Where they lived in 5 different houses, and I've basically kind of been to each one, not to the last one, but to each one.
Okay, yeah. You haven't been
I've even picked the blue in the living room of one of the last houses. It was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in my life. You would not believe how many different colors blue there exist. Infinite colors. In fact, I think I drove you crazy because I kept up making new names for blue colors just because I was like, it's the magenta triangular shade of, you know, whatever there's always 2 adjectives and the blue, whatever those 2 adjectives were.
Yeah. Yes, we've done a lot of painting.
Yeah.
But so the one that I bought on Cliff's birthday, you said, wow, this is a hell of that's the one you're talking about where we signed the contract in the car.
Yeah.
And he was like, that is a hell of a birthday present. You said that's a hell of a birthday present.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I said something about buying him something at one point, and he goes, well, you know, so what? You just take them away.
You get the house, you take it away anyway. It doesn't really matter.
It's like, you still have the house. He's like, yeah, but I don't live in it. I'm like,
we're just collecting. Honey, it's about collecting. It's about getting other people to pay our mortgage.
Yeah. So, but he's happy now. He absolutely loves this house. Loves. You'll love it too when you get it.
I'm sure I will. I saw it on Google Maps. It looked beautiful.
Yeah.
So as you hear, Bambos is an entrepreneur. He's been struggling to do everything. He's done the SEO work like you've done. And I'm curious from his side, when you hear, because we often have people come on and we talk about business. And then afterwards, we'll kind of, you know, we'll check in with Bambos. What resonated with you? What did you feel wasn't? So when you hear Kelley speak, what comes up for you in your experience?
I think I'm a little bit like her husband, but not so prehistoric. But I tend to want to do everything myself. Delegating is very difficult, and now I have an assistant actually, which makes my life much easier.
That's so funny. I don't see you that way.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Well,
he's hard on himself. He is. Jesus. So just to give you a sense, okay, he's not financially in the greatest position, but he knows he needs to invest in search engine, the SEO work, right? So he gets the assistant. He pays an outside resource to help him do the SEO work so that he can get higher ranked on the whole thing. He gets this other person to work on his profile and to help social. So he's basically created this team around him, even in a financially constrained zone, because you need to create. So I'm seeing you very much similar to Kelley.
Yeah, I actually gambled. Beginning of the year, I invested everything I had into the business because normally I thought, oh yeah, we did it last year, around March, it should like pay back everything, and like COVID hit, so I lost all the contracts.
Oh boy.
So that was a hard one, but
Yeah.
I realized I just put it all in. I didn't foresee COVID, like just didn't see it.
Who did?
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's been trying to reassemble himself and figure out what he's going to be doing, how he's going to be doing it now.
Well, right now I feel like I'm investing in the relationships that I have right now, very personal, and I'm not really busy trying to get new clients. Like, and the business grows word of mouth. That's where I am right now.
And what kind of business is it?
I'm a corporate event photographer, and I do portraits and lifestyle. So right now it's portraits and lifestyle. There are no events.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But like
All right.
Bambos has like 160 people on Google that have reviewed him. So he's got a lot of exposure.
That's awesome. That's definitely a big help.
What were you going to say though?
I was going to say I did a bunch of the SEO work myself, and then the local snack pack I really had trouble cracking. I mean, I got us organically up to like number 1 or 2 on the first page, but getting us into the snack pack eluded me, and I went through about 5 or 6 different companies trying to find somebody who could do it, and I finally found one who did. So I'll be happy to shoot that information to you if you want.
Please do.
What snack pack?
When you Google something here, you know, like Vero Beach electrician, right?
Yeah.
You get some ads, and then you get a map.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's the first 3 returns below the map, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning before we went on, that getting us into that 3rd spot just makes the phone ring off the hook.
Wow. So you figured out basically how to make the system find you more appealing in their ranking.
I did not. I mean, I spent a few years and I managed to do it. So then below the map and the 3 companies, then you start to get the organic returns. And on the organic returns, I got us into the top couple of, definitely the top electrician in the organic returns, but I never got us into the snack pack. And that's been that frankly drives more the retail business these days.
Okay, because people say, hey, I'm looking for electrician in Vero, and they look at the map, not necessarily at the Google result, for instance.
Right. And so they see the top 3 returns, and they see the number of stars you have, and they, may click on that and look at your reviews or whatever. But, that opens the door basically. And I would say 65-70% of our calls, I ask people how they heard about us, and they say, I searched for you on Google. So I hired, after I kept trying, doing all the things supposedly that gets you into the snack pack, couldn't do it. So about a year ago, I started hiring companies to help me, and I'd listen to their pitch, and I'd give them a certain amount of money, sometimes a lot. And I went through, I'm going to say 5 companies before I found the company that actually got us there.
And so what you're speaking to again is exactly the tenacity that I say, you'll always figure it out. It's just a question of time.
Right.
And you have no problem saying, okay, this didn't work, let's do the next. This didn't work, let's do the next. That's a real quality that's unique in the world. People tend to give up after the first or second try, saying, hey, this just doesn't work.
Right. So if I was giving advice on this, that's one of the top couple of things I would talk about is, look, do something. And if it doesn't work, do something else. Or if it doesn't work perfectly, change it up. And the other thing is, I would also advocate, I think a lot of people get stuck in, okay, I'm going to start this business, and I had this. Oh my God, this is such a big thing. I'm overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And it's like, I do not do that. It's like, okay, here are the things I need to do. And now let me just focus on these one or two things that are like the top priority and get those done. And I don't even think about the rest of it.
I've got a question for you on that, if I may. I've got the book launch coming up in about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm working with this like a guy in media, really, engaged, smart, has a lot of good ideas. So every time I talk to him, like I work organically and everything happens step by step. But for him, he really needs me to think way ahead, because if I'm going to do a course, hey, if we're going to push people to a course, you got to have a course. You got to make that decision now and not like, hey, let's do the course after. Oh, great. The book did well. Maybe a few months we'll do a course when the whole window of opportunity shuts down.
Right.
So how do you balance that? Because I'm finding in myself, like I really work in this flow, but then all of a sudden I have a stretch goal that kind of pulls me away that says, wow, that doesn't let me just do whatever I want today. I've really got to start focusing on that.
Well, so it would go back to the first two things. What do you want to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
And then what are the things you need to do now, right? Like what are the highest priority things to start working on to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish? So if part of what you want to accomplish is a course, then what you need to do is reprioritize some things so you can focus on the course.
Yeah. Which I guess I do intuitively, because I just called up somebody who did courses really well and said, hey, you want to figure this one out? So yeah, I do that, I guess, intuitively, but I don't put myself in the position sometimes to put that stress in my life, because I just think life's too short and I'm enjoying myself. I don't need to give the course.
And he's preparing to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I wouldn't, people would probably pay me good money to help them start businesses if I can tell them, yes, I can help you do it and we'll be successful. But I would rather ride my horse and play with my baby horse.
I love the pictures. She's into horses, big horses. I'd love to share a story as an aside, if I may. The first day I go to work with Kelley, she invites about 6 new employees on the exact same day. It's a pretty stressful moment because everyone's coming in to work for the same company. More capital has been brought into the company, and she's supposed to scale it. Now, at that same day, she buys a puppy. Okay. Now I'm in the house. There's a puppy in the house. Of course, the puppy's adorable. So I'm in love. But like of all the things to bring into your life, the moment you've just started this massive endeavor, you also bring 2 puppies in. I'm sorry. Let me clarify that.
Was it like a stress relief?
Yeah. What was the reason for that? That's a great question. What was it?
Well, we had just lost our 2 dogs a month before. They died within a couple of weeks of each other. And I wanted to have a dog. I never really had my own dog. The dogs that we had were the kids' dogs, and then they got left to me when the kids had other places to go. So I wanted my own dogs, and Cliff wanted to wait. Cliff was like, I need some time to grieve. I need some time to recover, and I'm like, why? We're going to die. Like, why go a year grieving and being unhappy? Why not just have 2 more dogs?
Mm-hmm.
Why not be happy?
Yes. Oh, my.
So let's continue this story.
Go ahead. Just slow down. That is actually a great formula for like how I see you making your decisions, right?
Yeah.
In your business. Like, why wait?
Yeah. Why wait? We're not getting any younger.
Yeah. Well, I never saw her wait. That's for sure. There's never waiting.
Let's do such and such while we're still young. Now I say, let's do such and such while we're still old.
Old and kicking.
Let's do this while we're still old.
Oh, I love it.
But I want to hear the rest of the puppy story.
So the rest of the puppy story is, so
fabulous.
She brings the puppy to the office because we got to get the puppy into the office, okay? And when I go into an engagement, I'm kind of like a roaming, I'll do anything required at any moment. It'll be an interaction, it'll be a writing, it'll be a coaching or mentoring. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But when she was there, I had to become the puppy walker because somebody's got to walk the puppy. So I'm the puppy walker. So I go in and I take the puppy and we go in. We go walk in the elevator closes, and the puppy poops. And the puppy is pooping in the middle of the elevator while I'm going down. Okay, I'm alone in the elevator. So at this moment, I'm sort of freaking out. I'm thinking, how do I get the puppy? Because maybe the puppy hasn't completely pooped. Maybe I can get the puppy out to the outdoor. So I try to stop the puppy in as nice a way as I can. And then I take the puppy outside fast as I can. Hopefully the poop.
You left the poop in the elevator.
I had to see if I could finish this situation. So now I get the puppy, do as fast as I can. The puppy finishes its business. It did have a bit more. Then I run back to the elevator and it's not waiting for me. So now I'm sitting at the elevator, hearing the dings, thinking, oh my God. And so the next thing I know, the door opens. There's two people looking at me, looking at this. Looking at the poop on the middle of the elevator, and then I'm like with this dog in my hands. I've been caught red-handed as I'm sitting here with the dog in my hand, and they look at me, and strangely, they looked at me with compassion. No, they didn't.
It was a mindful company, right?
There were two people I didn't know. So I go
from the company.
I go up. I don't know if you remember this. I went directly to your office. I said, there's poop in the elevator. That's above my pay grade.
Yep. You need to deal with the poop. That was my ultimate job. I dealt with shit wherever it was.
I delegated that up. I said, hey,
So you were getting paid as a consultant
to walk a dog. Yes,
to walk a dog. I love it.
One of a few items. Yes.
We actually have a comment. And I
do
see
it.
it's really suiting for this moment. Magdalena says, really admire how you work things and your great humor, Kelley Mccabe.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, you are a unique being. Isn't it strange how, like, if we just take you as a mold of just getting things done, making decisions quickly, adapting when things don't work out, then you'd say, like, all the entrepreneur schools, all the places that can teach you how to be successful. Like if you just took 3 or 4 of the qualities that you live by, that would be what's really required for someone to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go back to the beginning of our conversation. I'm not a genius. I just work hard. So.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not also true.
You seem to be asking a lot of questions and then figuring out the answers as you go along.
I rapidly sort through problems and solve them. That's my primary thing. I'm a problem solver.
Yeah. I mean, basically you hired me, as far as I know, to try to figure out how to like soften your rough edges when other people had challenges dealing with your way of management.
Right.
And I mean,
how'd that go?
To a greater or lesser degree, I mean, what I did was I said to each person who had a challenge, I said, listen, she gets to be fully her and you get to be fully you. So in a way, you having a problem with her is basically a challenge that you could see as a way of needing to interact with her in a way that works for you. You became everyone's mommy daddy issue, basically.
Yes,
that was kind of the thing. Because I find this, this could be a whole other show. I find that females in leadership roles, because there is an expectation of what the female energy is, when the same energy comes from a male, it's accepted. Mm-hmm. And when it comes from a female, it's projected on as something like they're being you're a bitch. I didn't want to say the word, but I say it. Yeah. And I think that's a really sad state we're in, because what it kind of does is it says you can only behave a certain way if you're a female in a business.
Right. So it makes it hard to be a female entrepreneur, because to some extent, if you're, Bombos knows, I mean, if you're digging around the dirt trying to make it happen, you're not going to have your white gloves and party hat on.
Yeah. And Bambos is that way. I mean, if I look at it, a lot of times Bambos works hard. He's determined. He's focused, and people judge him for it, because they say, hey, you're taking this too seriously, or, you're stressing out about it, or whatever they do. I've seen that happen, at least.
Yeah.
Well, then couple the fact that it was a mindfulness business. And everyone had this idea, like I was supposed to be the poster child for
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
chill kind of flatlining, which I'm not.
Isn't that beautiful, the paradox? And you started the business because you found peace in mindfulness. So you said, I find peace in mindfulness. Now this has to go to all of corporates in America.
Right.
But when you applied it,
beyond.
Of course. But I mean, when you applied it, you almost applied it with the New York Stock Exchange mentality that was so unbearable because everyone said, hey, we have to sit in a circle, talk about our feelings. Yeah. Like you can't tell me directly what you need and want from me.
Yeah.
It's funny because this reminds me of, I went to a Buddhist monastery and I did this 2-month Vipassana in the south of France. And the nuns were doing walking meditation and it started thunderstorming. It was in the mountains. Ooh. And then she turned, she says, being mindful doesn't mean being stupid. Now we do running. We do mindful running.
That's good.
Sweet little nun.
That's very good.
Funny. Yeah, I must say I do really appreciate you. I know when I asked you to be on the first time, you were kind of like, what are we going to talk about? I have no clue why you didn't want to speak to me. And then I said, but you're like the quintessential entrepreneur. And it was interesting. Like you said yes to it, but I don't even know if you really realized what you were saying yes to. I have the feeling most people say yes because they like me and trust that it'll be okay. Like they're like, I don't know why I'm saying yes to you, but it's you, so I'll say yes. That's
yes.
Kind of.
I love you, and I always have fun with you, so I figured, it'll work out.
Yeah, nice. Do you see yourself any differently now that you see me project on you to be this kind of megastar entrepreneur, or is it what you always thought you were?
Well, I still don't see myself as a megastar, but I do like the tornado in a bedroom analogy.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a lot of energy.
I discovered America through our interaction because with the clients I stay with, it's often people find it weird how I'll stay with clients and then the coaching happens in the business and out of the business and it's family and it's personal and it's, like that's not normal usually, but with us, it was family and it was beautiful and it still is beautiful. But the one thing was like, I didn't really realize what it felt like to live in America because I hadn't lived there in 30 years. So when I went back to stay with you, and then it was like, there's Monday night football. And then you're like, no, Andy, now there's Tuesday night football. And there's Wednesday night football. And there's Thursday night. Like every night had a football night. It was like, there was only one exception. So we went from one night being reserved for the sport to every night. And basically.
You watch football?
I was watching it because it was like I tend to wherever I am. Like when I was in Japan, I watch sumo. I don't just because that's what they do. So when I'm in America, I watch football because that's what they do. But what I found so fascinating is that it was really a part of the culture that I was not familiar with because I'd been gone so long. So we'd come home, we'd put on the football match, we'd all sleep together. We'd sleep basically on the reclining sofas because we'd never watch the end of the game. It would be too late by the time that Yeah. I even think I saw 2 Super Bowls with you. That was the sort of getting reacquainted with Americana, which I hadn't actually had much familiarity with.
And this was in Florida.
This was in Florida.
Yes.
We went to Florida?
No, we went to someplace else. Haverford College. In Philadelphia.
Right.
It's a PH, not an F.
Philadelphia, Florida.
Bambos, I took him to Haverford College, which was this very religious area that has all of the Quaker history in it.
I grew up there.
Oh, yeah? What? And so Bambos, when I met him, he was far more of a free spirit. If he was anything, he was like a kind of a cult that was left, and I had to kind of tame him a little bit, right? So part of his thing was he had these big earrings that he used to wear, those big ones, and he would walk around barefoot. And so I send him, because we need to chronicle the building's history, I send him to this place where it's really, really conservative people. it was not comfortable asking them if we could catalog these documents. They're old documents, 300-400 years old, I think, maybe even older. And Bambos is holding them and taking the pictures. So Bambos goes into this thing basically with no shirt and no shoes on in the middle of the library.
I'm wearing a shirt.
No. When I say basically, it's like one of these singlet-like things that hangs down to his waist with all of these conservative, almost nun-like figures.
Right.
And then I go in a day late because I fly in, and I go in trying to look at them like, okay, yes, I do understand it is a little bit strange, but that's the free spirit of Bambos.
That's awesome.
Isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it? I remember one of the most amazing days of my life was when we ran for about an hour, and you ran barefoot on concrete for that hour through forest and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just amazing.
That's impressive.
He's pushing the limits all the time.
Look where it got me, next in a talk show with Andy Shalet.
Yes.
Shalet.
What did you say? What was your thing? What do we have to do before we get old and die? What was the term you used?
While we're still old.
While we're still old, Bambos. While we're still old.
Do you want to go for a run?
I wouldn't mind that, except I'll run 100 meters and then say, wow, that was a tough day.
Actually, look, it's the first time I'm wearing jeans.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Kelley, we just made our hour. Thank you so much for being with us.
It was very nice to meet you.
Incredible.
You're very grounded.
Yes. Love you. It's
Love you too.
Great to show appreciation for someone as special and as unique as you are on the planet. So, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I send you a hug.
Same.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, Bambos. That was a fun day.
That was a fun day?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one we just had. I consider our hour a day as my whole day. I could say it was a nice show. Yeah, that's Kelley.
That's Kelley. Nice.
We spent a few years together kind of going and building this company together, going through the hardships and the development and the funding and all of that. So, yeah.
It feels like I'm getting to know you through the eyes of other people. But you're very consistent in your sex jokes and your, in a way, lovingly provoking, but getting connection.
Yeah. How do you see that? Oh, you mean with her mom or something?
Yeah, but you do that with everyone.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, I think with the mom, I think intuitively she was so high strung that you needed to break through.
Yeah.
And she was trying to keep up this sort of appearance. So I think instinctively I'll go to the feeling of how do I create space so that we can kind of move through this, the pretend. So I don't necessarily think it as provoking as much as opening up space. I think Bill Appleblossom, the person we had on who was the Elder's Wisdom.
Yeah.
He once said to me, he said, Andy, I see how you use humor to alleviate and create connection and space instead of, putting people down and stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah. It was interesting. So cool. That was today. Tomorrow. Healing through psychedelics.
Oh, we have Neil Elzenga again.
Elzenga, we have him back again. He really said he wanted to talk about his journey with psychedelics. He said it had a big impact on him dealing with trauma in his life. So we're going to discuss that tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Yeah. And
that would be
Thursday.
Thursday, we have Tim Freke. Tim Freke is an incredible individual. He's written some 35 books. Ronnie did a Wikipedia search on him and said he wrote a book that said Jesus didn't ever exist. He was just a creation, and it basically got massive backlash. He's done a lot of, he's well known in the UK. He's done BBC shows. He's a well-known philosopher.
Do you know him personally?
Yeah, we've met.
Nice.
And then we've got Friday. What a show.
Benoit
Leray. And he's got a brain tumor recently.
Yeah.
He's asked you to shoot photos of that journey before and after.
Yeah, we're going to shoot starting next Friday, actually.
Friday.
Yeah.
And we're going to discuss with him the journey, the experience, how he sees it, and why he's chosen even to work and take pictures with you before and after as a kind of just kind of documenting that journey,
Nice.
It's beautiful.
Looking forward to that.
So thank you all for being with us. Another great episode. And we'll see you next time on a wonderful
one of those
chaos. Here we go. Bye.